It's a war on spending in Washington, and now it's hitting the war machine. President Obama has ordered another $78 billion to be cut from the Pentagon budget. That's music to the ears of my first guest, even if he'll sing a different tune when cuts come to entitlements like Medicare and Social Security. Joining me now, peace-loving, Federal Reserve-fighting, iconic Ohio Democratic Congressman Dennis Kucinich. Congressman Kucinich, Happy New Year, and welcome back to Freedom Watch, where you are always welcome.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.
Great to be with you.
You Democrats, you folks who believe, and I am one of you, that the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq were unlawful, unconstitutional, and inappropriate, couldn't bring the troops home when the Democrats controlled the House, when the Democrats had an overwhelming number in the Senate and a Democratic president. How do you propose to bring them home now with Republicans holding the House and Democrats having fewer numbers in the Senate?
Well, I agree with you that the Democrats had a responsibility to end those wars and to bring the troops home. They did not. I'm not going to spare my party any criticism on its inaction in ending the wars. But the Republicans have brought forward a new sensitivity about budget matters.
Right.
And with the United States approaching a debt limit, with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan dragging on, with the costs projected amount in the trillions of dollars, what better place for us to start to end unnecessary spending than to end these wars and to look at the larger question of the Pentagon budget to start to cut out the waste and the unnecessary spending.
Is Secretary Gates' proposal of $78 billion, though in absolute dollars for you and me and folks watching you, an astronomical number, is that just a drop in the bucket? Are we talking about coffee pots for $6,000, or is this a material, substantial cut in the Pentagon's budget?
Well, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not substantial. You know, you're talking about $78 billion over 5 years. It's a fraction of the overall Pentagon spending that would be projected to occur in that time. But what we have to do is look at the money that's already being spent. You know, they constantly lose track of taxpayers' money inside the Pentagon and how the money's spent. This is a problem that's been going on for decades, through Democrat and Republican administrations alike.
I couldn't agree with you more. Is there something about America, Mom, God, the flag, and apple pie, World War II, that has made the Pentagon a sacred cow, that they can waste all the money they want, and Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, big government progressives, and libertarians will look the other way?
Well, you know, it's a constitutional responsibility to provide for the common defense. However, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that we ought to blow money in that provision. And what's happened with the Pentagon is they lose track of money. When I came to Congress, there were over $1 trillion worth of accounts they couldn't reconcile. When Secretary Rumsfeld came to Congress in the early part of the Bush term, he acknowledged there were trillions of dollars they were losing track of.
Right.
When you understand that money is put on over $10 billion was sent over to Iraq, shrink-wrapped in pallets and put on on a transport plane and sent to Iraq, and they didn't even keep track of the money. Once it arrived there, it was cash.
All right, I got two.
Look, and when money's going over to Karzai, and we don't know where it's going, except it goes through, well, you know, let's put it charitably.
All right, I got a couple more questions for you, and we have limited time. Will you vote to raise the debt ceiling and continue us on this borrowing and spending spiral, or will you say enough is enough?
Well, you know, let's look at the consequences of voting against the debt ceiling and of putting America in default. I was one of 3 Democrats who, on July the 27th, 2002, when George Bush was president, who voted to raise the debt ceiling. Now, why did I do that? Was it because I was a supporter of President Bush? No. It was because I was concerned that America would lose control over its own financial future, that we'd put the control back in Wall Street's hands if we go into default, that we'd lose control of our interest rates, that our bond rating would go down, we wouldn't be able to pay Social Security checks.
I understand
there's consequences here.
I understand the argument, Congressman Kucinich. Switching gears, the state of Ohio, by virtue of population changes, is destined to lose 1 seat in Congress. I'm going to say that you are, in my view, one of the most intellectually honest members of Congress in the entire Congress, from either party, across the political spectrum. But is there a target on your forehead because there's a Republican legislature and a conservative Republican Democrat, a conservative Republican governor, and you're a liberal Democrat?
Well, I think it's been widely reported that my district may well be eliminated. I understand that. I've told my supporters across the country that we ought to be having this discussion right now about what my options are. I mean, my questions at this point isn't who my opponent's going to be. It's going to be where's my district. So I don't really have the answer to that yet. But I am going to be talking to people in Cleveland as well as my friends everywhere to try to come up with the best approach to take. There'll be a map available by the end of the year, but I'm not going to wait till the end of the year. I already know my district's slated for elimination, and I've got to be ready to do everything I can to
Here's
deal
one
with it.
libertarian who hopes you stay. Congressman Kucinich, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
A showdown looms.